never think, I never know. I'm stuck and left alone. I've been lost, I've been fine. My cause is not defined. Won't you kiss me? Won't you play? Won't you drive me? Ain't no way I could deny you, I could stray. Won't you kiss me? Ain't no way. Want you.
Hey guys, it is November, so it is the 2nd of November now, but you will have some sort of like impression of my 1st of November in the B-roll that just came before this clip. But so, we are entering the month of November, and as you can see, I'm entering it with a cherry pit pillow. I also have like a heated pad here because this muscle that's running over there is being very bothersome at the moment, as well as this muscle and every single muscle that operates my arm, I guess. So yeah, we're having a good start to the day. But so today is back to work because yesterday, the 1st of November, is a holiday in Belgium. So it's painful being back at work now. But next week we also have a holiday because then we have the 11th of November, which is Armistice. And then I am making the bridge, so I'm also taking the Friday off. And I think even the Monday, so I think I have a super long weekend. But maybe I should check that now because otherwise I'm getting excited about the super long weekend before I'm actually sure it is super long. In any case, it's gonna be long. It's definitely a 4-day weekend. But I think I made it a 5-day weekend as well. So looking forward to that. It's a nice little sort of like short break to kind of get the energy going again and then go straight on until the Christmas holiday. But so at this moment, I basically finished my October, like the final book that I was reading in October yesterday. So I finished The Other Man. This is an arc that I was granted. It came out in the middle of October. It's basically a queer male Indian romance story in which we're following our protagonist called Ved, who is this guy who basically is very much a company man. His father owns a company. He has every intention of, following in his footstep. He basically feels like that is what is expected of him, and he doesn't really go against what is expected of him. He's also a closeted gay man and doesn't really have the courage to come out to his parents about this yet, which is a little bit of a problem since his mother insists on setting him up with these dates with girls, hoping to find him the perfect bride. At the beginning of this story, Ved finally kind of gives in to his mother's demands and doesn't really find a good enough reason to tell her why he cannot marry this girl and ends up accidentally agreeing to an arranged marriage with her. But at around the same time, he also starts entering into conversations with this guy called Carlos, who is a Brazilian guy who is currently for his job working in Jaipur, but who has just moved over to Mumbai. And he's starting to see this guy on the side, and he's actually starting to form a real attachment to him. So I did definitely enjoy this one. I very much like the fact that it's an Indian romance. We definitely need more romance that is centered in other parts of the world than, the US or the UK or Europe, for example. We definitely need like different settings for our romances. And this is also written by an Indian author based in India. So it's also, in that sense, something that we really need. We really need more. We really need to explore more authors outside of that sort of like big US, UK monopoly almost on the publishing industry. So I really like that aspect to it. I did definitely also really like the relationship between Carlos and Ved, and I also really liked the other relationships in there and definitely the way in which the story develops. We definitely see a whole lot of beautiful interactions towards that second half. The one thing that I found very annoying is a personal preference, and that is that I personally have a big problem with lying, which doesn't mean that I never lie, but definitely honesty is my policy. Honesty is the best policy. I always believe that it is best to be honest about things, which doesn't necessarily mean that I'm always honest about things, but I always feel like I should have been honest about things. And so this book very much relies upon our character lying a whole lot throughout this book. And yes, he feels guilt about it the entire time, but he also gets sucked into a deeper and deeper and deeper web of lies. So there's a whole lot of lying involved, and I could just like have see the train wreck coming and just be like, but no, this is all just going to backfire to such an extent. And so it was a little bit of an annoying read to that extent, but that is also just a trope that a lot of romances use. You know, a lot of romances, the sort of like conflict is based around miscommunication. And so here the miscommunication isn't necessarily wrongfully interpreting what another person says, which really irks me, but it is real miscommunication in the sense that he's not opening up to the people around him. And there is, of course, good reason for that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I still didn't get quite annoyed with that. But aside from that, I did definitely think that it was an important read, a good read, and, you know, I would definitely recommend it if you're somebody who reads romance. If you're somebody who likes queer romance, definitely also give this one a go, for example. So yeah, that one really was a good one. And then I started 2 books yesterday, which I will talk about in later clips. So I started The Glass Castle, which is a memoir by Jeanette. So I'm reading that for Nonfiction November. And then I'm also starting Les Fiancés de l'Hiver by Christelle Dabos, which is a French fantasy novel translated as the A Winter's Promise, which is the first book in the Mirror Visitors series. So I'm starting that one in French. I got 25 pages read. I did look up quite a few words, but for the most part, they were like words that I could have done without. It was just a sort of like introduction part of the book that had quite some words that I wasn't sure about, and because that was like a little bit more vague, I also didn't fully understand what it was saying. So that part I did need to look up quite a bit in order to understand, but once we got into the story, I was able to follow quite well. So we'll see how long that holds up, because, you know, my French is still high school level French. Is not that great that I can like easily get through a book like this. So I started that, but as I said, I'm only 25 pages in. So all I know now is that she is entering into an arranged marriage, which is a weird coincidence there. So she's entering into an arranged marriage with somebody from another sphere, and saved it. And sorry, cat. And apparently that's a big deal she was always supposed to just marry within the family. Ew. But yeah, I don't know yet what the entire reason is why I think it's a grandfather or uncle or something like that, is very upset about this development. Hey guys, so I am like 75%, I guess, or something like that, into The Glass Castle. So about time to talk to you guys about it, I guess. But so in The Glass Castle, we are following this well, basically it's a memoir, so I don't need to talk about it as if we were following a fictional character. But so we are following the author, Jeanette, and we're going to be looking at her childhood. Now, the sort of like start of this story immediately kind of catches your attention because she's talking about her adult self, who at some point in her business career kind of is going to an event, but while she's driving there or while she's being driven there, she sees her mother rummaging through the garbage on the side of the street. And so she decides to return home without saying hello to her mother because she's too upset by it and too upset that maybe somebody would see her and see the association with her mother. And later in that same opening section, you know, her mother calls her or something like that, and then they kind of have a little bit of a conversation. You kind of see that, you know, whereas the author is trying to tell her, yes, mother, I was ashamed of you. I didn't want to say hello to you. Like, if you need help, let me know. And the mother is kind of like, well, no, we don't need help or anything like that. We live the perfect life. And then the sort of like second opening section is when she's 3 years old and she first has to go to the hospital because she burned herself while baking hot dogs at the age of 3. And so throughout this book, we'll be looking at their childhood and the constant struggles that they had of, you know, getting enough money on the table to be able to survive, but also being able to stay in a fixed, stable environment, because a lot of times they had to move based off of, for example, them running into trouble with the police, with the authorities. And then as we get further and further into the story, we very much start to see, you know, how the nonconformity of their parents, the way that their parents want to be self-sufficient to the extreme, is very much boycotting them and is boycotting them and the family, and they very much, and to the extent that in the point of the book where I'm at now, it very much feels like they are the children, and like the children themselves are actually the caretakers, are the ones who want to be responsible, are the ones who want to be budgeting, whereas the parents are the ones who want to be indulging in their sort of like cravings, who want to live life for themselves, who don't want to be burdened by these children, by the fact that they have to take care of these children. And it becomes quite irksome to some extent, because while they are acting like children in that sense, they're also constantly back talking the children when they are trying to talk to them about the harshness of their reality, or when they are trying to make decent decisions for their futures. They are constantly like, yes, but who are you to be talking to me like that? I am the parent, you are the child, whereas they're not really acting like parents. At the same time, while there's all of this sort of like parental neglect going on, you definitely also see that there's real love there, especially in the beginning, and it's kind of irksome to see the evolution, because especially in the beginning you kind of see this deep bond between, for example, our author and her father. There really is a deep bond between them, and you can definitely see that her father has a lot of, he's very smart in principle. He definitely knows a whole lot of things about how the world works, and he is also educating his children in a way that whenever they go to school, they stand out because they have a higher level than most other kids, because of the advanced things that their parents have been teaching them. And when it comes to, the type of gifts that they give their children, in spite of the fact that they don't have real money, or so they cannot really splurge on any type of gifts, they definitely give very thoughtful gifts, for example, to their children. So there's definitely a lot of beautiful moments, specifically more in the beginning. At this point in time, you've gotten into this sort of cycle of, at this point in time, I don't feel that anymore, and that's perhaps as well because our protagonist has aged up so much. And so whereas in the beginning, your protagonist is still sort of like talking about the time in life in which she was very much looking up to her father, and which her father couldn't really do much wrong for her. At this point in time, we're very much getting to the point where she's kind of losing faith in her father, and where basically she's at the verge of, losing all hope and all love for her father. So I just wanted to give an update now before I finish it, so that, I don't just come at you about this book at the very end when I've completely listened to it. But so I have about 2 hours left to listen to it now. I don't think I will be finishing it tonight. Who knows? Still have time to do that. But I also still need to edit a video, for example. But I'm not sure whether I'll be able to finish it still tonight or not. But in any case, it will get done throughout this week. So I finished the Glass Castle yesterday. Sorry for the echo. And I now only have 50 unread books on my shelf, which means I'm going to be filming a video. So these are all the unread books that I have left on my shelves. These are 50 books. And so I'm going to be filming a video in a different setting this time around. So that'll be the backdrop over there. But I'm going to be filming an unhaul. And I don't know when it's going to come to you, because I'm going to do a sort of like first selection based off of this. I'm going to kind of decide which ones I'm thoroughly convinced I want to read, and which ones are kind of books that if at this point in time I had to choose which books to buy, I probably wouldn't buy them. And so they are going to go into it sort of like try a chapter tag. But yeah, reaching 50, it's like I've been waiting for it to happen for a while now, because I feel like I have been kind of struggling with moving forward in this challenge for a few months. And so I'm super happy to finally have done so. And yeah, I am kind of feeling good about it now. It kind of seems so doable now that it's just down to 50 books. Even though that is still like, to some extent, like 8 months of reading or something like that. But so we'll see what ends up happening with that unhaul. I don't know to how much I can get it down to. I think there are definitely the majority of them, it will be like in the yes pile. The majority of them I still definitely want to read, and I don't need to like think about. But there will be quite a few, I think, still that I haven't thought about at all in a year's time. So we'll see to what that number climbs down to, and especially how many of those will survive a sort of like try a chapter tag at that point in time as well. So it is Friday, yay! And so I don't know what I want to be focusing on, because as I finish The Glass Castle, I'm currently then in the middle of Les Fiancés de l'Hiver, which is the French edition of A Winter's Promise, which is the original edition of A Winter's Promise. And I'm going through that pretty slowly. So on one hand, I want to pick up another book as well to be reading, so that I don't fully have to focus on that the entire time. On the other hand, if I do that, will I ever make any progress in Les Fiancés de l'Hiver? So maybe I should just suck it up and, at least for this weekend, try to focus fully on that book and see how far I can get in it. Hopefully if I get like a little bit further into the story, I'll just be like so engrossed that it will flow more naturally. It's not really that I'm fully struggling with it, but I am still looking up quite a few words. But so with books that are in another language that I don't fully control the way that I do English and my native language, then I kind of feel like the further I get along with it, the less I'm bothered about, words that I don't understand. The more that I'm like, I can understand the gist of it, meaning I can understand the idea behind the scene. I know what is happening in the scene. I just might not know all of the details of, the setting, what color does that bookcase have, or whatever, things like that. And those things aren't really that important. And so for language understanding, it's better to actually just push through them than to constantly be looking up each and every single one of those. But because my French is advanced enough, I also to some extent feel like I should be looking those things up. And so that's what I do at the beginning of books like that. But basically, as I get further and further along, I basically stop bothering with that. So that's probably also going to happen here at some point. Hey guys, I got my hair cut. How do you like the new look? So first of all, who makes the eyes for these sheets masks? My eyes are way bigger than that damn hole. But so I had a quite busy day today, because basically I almost didn't get any reading done so far. So, by the way, I should maybe turn off the ambient rain sounds. So I started the day by going to the hairdresser, which is barely visible here, but okay. So I went to the hairdresser this morning to get my hair cut, which was desperately needed. Then I went to buy sheet mask in Rituals. I also went to buy some crisps and new batteries, and then I went back home, and then afterwards I went back to the city center to go to the market to buy some mushrooms, because I wanted to make a variation of a HelloFresh recipe that I made in the last vlog that I did. But so I wanted to make that one was mashed potatoes with Chinese cabbage, and then a topping of sort of roasted onions with some sort of a sauce. And so I wanted to do the same, but I wanted to make a sweet potato mash with Chinese cabbage again, but then I wanted to put mushroom topping. And so I ended up going to the market to get an assortment of wild mushrooms, which yummy, they were amazing. And so I made that. I didn't really have much to show you about that because it didn't really look super good, especially since I almost I should have bought more sweet potato, because my mash was almost non-existent. It was more like a mushroom centered dish in the end. But I really enjoyed that quite a lot. And then before doing that, I spent 2 hours playing Age of Empires, and then only to lose the campaign in the end. And for the rest of the day, I've basically been filming 2 videos and procrastinating on reading. So I have done some reading. I've read a further chapter in A Winter's Promise. So this is the French edition, the French original. And first of all, this is a super floppy book, but I'm just constantly procrastinating on it because it does take quite a lot of effort to read the French. But I'm going to continue on with it. My plan is to this weekend at least fully focus on this one. And so if I don't read much in it, then that is just my bad, because that means that I will have kind of wasted this weekend in terms of reading at least. And so, yeah, I hope to make myself get quite a bit further into this one still this weekend. But so it is already almost 10 o'clock at night, and yet I have only read about 20 pages of this book today. Also, I'm constantly doubting myself when I'm reading in French, because our protagonist, Ophélie, she has been saying from the beginning that she was engaged to be married, so she's being married off to somebody who's living on the sort of like pole, is what it's called. It's a different sphere, and it's a very much more sort of like, polar setting. And so that she will be moving there. But, she didn't really know much about her fiance or anything like that. And so she just met him. But so she was like, she sees a bear and that's her fiance. But so now I'm like, wait, did I read that correctly? Is her fiance a bear, or is he like a bear, big as a bear? Am I? So that's part of the problem when reading fantasy in a different language, because then if there are really because then fantastical elements like that can really make me doubt my understanding of the language. So I absolutely hope that I get that right, or otherwise I'm having a very weird personal interpretation of this story. Hey guys, it is Sunday and I am extending my procrastination on reading by playing Age of Empires apparently all day, because I've reset this particular campaign like 10 times already because it is annoying me and I'm constantly dying. So, but I'm determined. I will continue. I will win this thing at some point. So, am I gonna be spending the entire day trying to survive this? Probably. Happy Monday! I say that unironically, but actually I absolutely hate every single Monday. Monday is not my favorite day of the week by far. So I have passed the 100-page mark in Les Fiancés de l'Hiver, so in A Winter's Promise, and I am moving through it a lot quicker now. Not entirely sure whether I'm just like given up on looking up every single French word that I don't know. Not that I was looking up every single French word that I didn't know, but like I was looking up way more, whereas now when there's just like a verb that expresses a feeling, for example, I don't necessarily bother looking up what exact feeling that they are feeling in relation to some news, for example. As long as I get the storyline, I'm fine with it. And so it's going a lot quicker than that. But probably what is also part of the reason why it's going quicker now is because, I've moved past that initial setup to the story. So I now know our players, I know what is happening, I know the basic premise, whereas, I knew the basic premise, but still, I didn't really know much about this world, didn't know much about, the magic system and things like that, and I still have a whole lot to learn, of course, but, like, snippets of it are settling in place, so it's becoming easier to orient myself in the story, for example. So, in case you were wondering, her fiancé is not a bear, but she totally described him like that. So it was just a story being like that. So the story described her as like seeing a polar bear in front of her. And that's like what's the only terminology that was used for him in that sort of like first chapter in which he's introduced. But then later in like the next scene or something, she mentions like he wasn't an actual bear, but he like looked about the same size, for example, and he's basically wearing these sort of like polar bear furs. And so it was just, that was the way that it was describing. Okay, so I was correct in being like, what the fuck, but it was really the intention, and so that means that I'm a great French reader, right? But so I have been enjoying the story, and I don't really like the story in the sense that we have these two characters who don't really want to get married, and then they are entering into this marriage of convenience. They don't like one another, and so his behavior is very standoffish, and so she wants to she's kind of hoping that the people around her don't want to push her into this marriage, but they are like, no, 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 you need to go through with this thing or otherwise you're not welcome here anymore. And then she has a conversation with him, and he barely gives her the time of day most of the time, but so when she kind of forces him into a conversation, he's also like indicating that she should bow out of this marriage because he doesn't want to need her, but there's no way that he can bow out of the marriage. So he feels like she should be doing it. So I'm finding that her husband at the moment is a very annoying character. I'm hoping for some sort of redemption to him later on, because otherwise it would just be a little bit too boring of a character, I guess. So I do hope that we get more depth to his character throughout the series, or that we dump him immediately. Either one will be fine by me. But I am so far quite enjoying the story. Finding it very interesting, this sort of like magic system of reading, reading an object's history by touching it. And I want to see what we're going to do with that further on within the book. Though a lot of those details are kind of missing to some extent because the sort of like real intricacies of that get lost in translation. But I am also listening to the audiobook in English. So basically yesterday when I spent like my entire day playing Age of Empires, at some point I also turned on the audiobook for A Winter's Promise and listened to up until the point where I was at that point in the story, to kind of listen to what I had already tried to decipher in French, to kind of see how much I had been following. And so when it comes to that, it's clear that, I am definitely getting the basics of the story. I'm definitely getting the plot. It's just that some of those nuances are sometimes kind of missing a little bit. So yeah, I will be continuing on with this one tonight. It's Becca's Patreon sprint, and so I'm hoping to really focus on this one tonight and get a little bit further in it. It's like, would be nice to get to the 200 page mark. That would mean still getting like 80 pages read in it today. But I will say that I am definitely, as I said, I'm definitely moving through it a lot quicker now. So I might actually be able to do that. Hey guys, so don't really have a reading update to give you guys, but this week I only have 3 work days, and you would think that that would be perfect. But the reason why it's not perfect is because it means that I don't have any motivation in these 3 days, because basically I'm just like waiting for that weekend because it's like so near from the beginning. So I'm really struggling with getting stuff done. Also, it doesn't help that my region is Spain and Portugal, and a big part of Spain is in holiday today, so there's also like almost no work coming in. So that also doesn't help. But we are like, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the second day of the week, so we're past the midway point. It's almost time for that weekend, and I do definitely still want to make sure that I get some things done. In the background, I've also watched a tutorial on the campaign that I'm stuck on in Age of Empires, and figured out that there is a way to get a wall, because I just didn't really remember the technology tree. And so if I can get a wall, I can actually make sure that I can get that campaign concluded, which isn't a good thing in some sense, because that means that probably tonight I will want to finish that campaign. I should be editing, but will I? Probably not. Hey guys, it is my weekend. It is Wednesday evening. I am starting the long weekend, and I am also starting my lactose-filled diet. So the next 2 weeks I'm eating lactose and seeing if there's a difference or not. I thought there was already a difference today, like after I had my coffee with my milk, and then during lunch I also had some mozzarella. I did have some problems with those things, like stomach wise. I kind of felt like I had more difficulty digesting them, but no sort of like major change yet. So I'm not entirely sure, like based on just that one experience, I can definitely not say whether there's actually anything wrong with my digestion of lactose. So we'll just see how it develops over the coming days. As a consequence, I'm now going to make myself a hot chocolate, because I can now have a traditional hot chocolate. So I'm going to be doing that. I need to also be reading because yeah, while I was totally back into the story of A Winter's Promise, I gave in too much to Age of Empires cravings, and so as a result, I haven't read yesterday, and so for some reason, it's once again a little bit more difficult for me to dive into it now. But so I am going to be doing it because I do definitely want to make sure that I finish it by the end of the week, hopefully. Hey guys, so it is Thursday, it is a day off here. It is Remembrance Day and apparently also Singles Day. What a weird combination, but okay. So of course shops are trying to get me to buy stuff, but I actually need, I actually have been wanting to buy some turtlenecks for a while, so I might actually take them up on that offer to order some turtlenecks. But so, I've been continuing on a little bit more in Les Fiancés de l'Hiver. I really need to wash my hair, but I was too lazy to get out of my pajamas this morning. So I guess I need to do it around now because I want to go to bed early because I want to do the 24-hour readathon that I wanted to do at the end of October tomorrow instead. So I should just make sure that I get the showering and the editing part of my day done around this time now so that I still have enough time to read a little bit more before around 5ish. I think I'm gonna try and go to sleep so that I can wake up again at midnight. But so I've been enjoying this book so far. I was kind of fearing at some point that we were going to go into sort of the plots of the Jasmine Throne, where a big part of the book, the protagonists are actually imprisoned almost, and so there's not a whole lot of movement through the world as possible. But that's not the case because of the powers that Ophélie has. So she has the possibility to kind of interact with objects, and so she's basically kind of been able to open the door that way. And also with her moving through mirrors, she can also kind of easily move between places. I think she needs to have gone to a specific mirror before to be able to travel to it. So it's not like she could escape her house through the mirror because she didn't know any other places in the pole. But now that she is outside, she could easily get back to her room, only she needs to find a mirror to be able to do it. But so, yeah, I've been enjoying this one so far. It's got interesting magic systems. It's every single clan, more or less, within this pole seems to have a different specialization. So you have the Mirage family who are specialized in illusions, and then you have, I don't know what this new character's house is. I could probably look it up at the back of the book, but he basically can kind of put his thoughts into other people's brains, so he can kind of suggests actions for them to take, and they're all identified based on tattoos. They have a sort of significant tattoo pattern that makes people aware of which house they belong to. And so yeah, I'm enjoying it so far, and I'm eager to kind of see what's gonna happen next, how this story is going to go kind of move forward from here, because I don't really have any sort of idea about where the story is going, which is very interesting, which I like a lot. Morning, guys. It is a Friday. I was kind of hoping that the construction crew would also make the bridge with the bank holiday yesterday, but they, of course, started early this morning. But okay, I am ready to start my day. I was actually going to do a 24-hour readathon today, but I couldn't sleep last night, not out of the excitement or anything like that, but I was just struggling too much with digesting lactose apparently. So I'll see you next week if I have time for an appointment with the doctor, because I need to get my blood tested in any case. And so Monday I also have a day off, so I'll see if there's still a spot available for blood works. But then I'll also discuss the lactose, because he told me that I should go lactose free for 2 weeks and then eat lactose for 2 weeks and then see the difference. But honestly, it's day 2. Now it's day 3, but yesterday was day 2 of lactose, and I had so many issues. I still feel like my stomach is protesting. So do I have to do this for 2 weeks? Because I'll definitely go down on certain products, because he told me to definitely try milk, because that's the thing that you will feel the most if you're lactose intolerant. So can I just stop milk already? Because I've already felt that I don't like to process it clearly. So today, since I am not doing the 24-hour readathon, that means that I have time to really focus on A Winter's Promise, because I absolutely need to, because I have not been reading as much as I should have been, or as I wanted to, over the past few days. So I want to make a decent dent in A Winter's Promise now, so that I can definitely get around to finishing it by the midway point of the month. Hey guys, so it is Tuesday evening and I'm going to be rounding off the vlog here. I know that is kind of anticlimactic, I'm assuming. Like, during the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I did a different vlog for Winterthon, and then yesterday was just a really bad day. I mean, physically I was feeling horrible because of lactose, and so I've decided, like yesterday morning already, actually already on Sunday evening more or less, that I was going to skip the lactose, or at least like not test it further. I still have a few lactose meals in my HelloFresh for this week, but you know, aside from those, I won't be eating any lactose. I will not be trying any more milk to see whether I have a reaction or not, because it is pretty damn clear now. But so all of yesterday I just felt horrible in my stomach, and so I don't know whether that also is then the reason why I also felt horrible mentally, but I was just like in a very disappointed in myself mood without fully knowing why I was disappointed in myself. You know, I was kind of feeling like I was failing adulting, but it's something that I feel quite regularly without really taking that to heart. You know, I know that I struggle with executive tasks and stuff like that, but I don't normally let that get to me too much. But so yesterday I was feeling that quite a lot, and I tried to do certain things, but like either I did like just small parts because I had to wait for answers for the rest, or I, you know, just was blocked on them for other reasons. So it wasn't even like I could have done more yesterday than what I did. I was just like, there was not a whole lot of progress that I could make in the things that I was trying to do. But I was mentally just feeling really drained yesterday. And so I then also allowed myself to watch a movie. And then I felt bad for watching a movie instead of finishing a book because, you know, sometimes I just force myself to read way too much. But so, yeah, I did finish a book yesterday. I haven't talked about that book in this entire vlog, so I don't think I'll do it neither now, because basically I'm still feeling some of the lactose, and so the energy is still very low because my entire body's energy is going into digesting that lactose now, I guess. But I will hopefully be back and kicking for next vlog. And so next week you guys will get the vlog for the weekend that was in between here that I just talked about. So hopefully that will also be a much more successful vlog than this one was. So on that disappointing note, I'm gonna leave you guys. It isn't always chipper, cheerful, optimistic, and only good news vlogs. So this one is a little bit of me just being like, ugh, I'm struggling a bit these days, but I'm sure that I will recover quite soon, especially since I'm looking forward to when this stomach is going to be like thanking me for stopping to eat. Especially when the lactose has left my system, and then I'm hoping that I will be feeling a whole lot better. But so yeah, hope you guys still enjoyed this vlog, and see you guys for the next one. Bye!